guys can see, I got you propped up on the back of the display here, so hopefully you guys can see what's going on. Get a good view of the corn head and the corn going in. This is just a background to the video anyway, so I guess it's not that important for the video content. You can find the row. So the corn's a little bit tangled out here as we had some 70-mile-an-hour winds, maybe 80 to 100-mile winds in places earlier this summer. It was right around the tassel when that happened, and it just kind of tangled everything up. We didn't think it was going to pollinate right, but really the corn pulled right out of it, stood back up. There is some pretty good goosenecking to some of this, so I am impressed at how it stood up, but it definitely made a mess out of a little bit. I'm just guessing that most of you guys migrated over from the original main channel, and if you did, thank you for coming over to this channel. And if you came to this channel because you found that this channel alone and you're interested in the main channel, the current name is Black Earth Farming. So if you're interested in the main channel, please go visit that channel as well. If you like a lot of the content, mainly farm focused or machinery focused content on that channel. That's really tangled right in here. The title of this video is going to be answers. I'm sure a lot of you that came to this channel because of the content that was posted on it that actually interested a lot of you. Some of that content is now no longer visible. The idea behind this second channel was to show people behind the scenes to the main channel, answer some of the behind the scenes questions, and provide detailed information and education, just make people aware. Now, a lot of the videos that are, quote, no longer visible, those videos were a bit controversial, and that's fine. They were very fun to make, and a lot of you actually really enjoyed them. But the stereotype fit the narrative for way too many people. When you put up a title that says this is easily the most controversial farming channel on YouTube, I don't know what people are expecting when they click on that content. But again, those are fun to make. We're going to take a little revised, more positive approach to different subjects and put up a little, what's this say, cleaner style of content. And the main thing is just the trolling. It's amazing how much trolling I get, even on my main channel. You could post something completely factual. For example, I had a 4620. It has a Henson brand cab. John Deere and Henson were, I don't know, they're in a partnership, or believe John Deere might have bought them out. That's who manufactured the cab for these 4620s. It says it in the repair manual, Henson says it right in the parts manual, Henson. I had people contact me telling me it's a Comfort King cab. I'm totally wrong. It's a year-round. The Hensons are no good. It's just social media. I get it, and that's just the way social media is. But it really takes a lot of the fun out of the message when you end up arguing ignorance. And that's what was going on with the content posted on this channel. And not to be repetitive or redundant where I started these videos on this channel, but it's pretty evident that a lot of the people that were commenting or causing problems are receiving a W-2 and not writing W-2s. How many of you that actually watch can actually say that you have over 5 employees? Maybe a few of you. That's about it. And most of those guys that do, I've actually become pretty good friends with. I have a lot of respect for the blue-collar worker of this country, but I think that the blue-collar worker is oftentimes their own worst enemy. And if they could see the bigger picture, the amount of things that could be accomplished in this country would be quite astounding. Oh, lots to talk about. Lots going on in our own operation as well as around the world right now. In these stocks, we can talk about grain first here. In these stocks, they're a little bit long and gangly. That's just because of the wind-blown gooseneck. And I've noticed corn heads don't like sharp corners. And up here in the top of this field with some old contour terraces. This farm was purchased in 2013, and these need to be eradicated and started over with. This farm needs some fair amount of attention. If you look way over there, I have the dozer, and I've been redoing a waterway during the rainy mornings, but now that we're dried off again, we're back to full-scale harvest instead of earth moving. Just about everywhere you can see, people are combining in the distance. As far as our yield here on the farm, the soybean harvest was probably one of our top 3 ever. Very, very good yields. Couldn't be happier with the yields. The price has slipped substantially on soybeans. I was hoping for about $13.25. I think current cash price is $11.88. We'll see if they come back somewhat. Hoping at this point they come back to about $12.50. And with the price of anhydrous basically at twice of what it was a year ago, we paid $400 a ton. Now I'm hearing it's over $800. So with fertilizer prices being twice what they were a year ago, I'm sure seed corn is going to be up a little bit, and diesel fuel being up. Corn production, I don't know if that will affect acres or not, but I think that soybeans are going to have to be, at least for our particular farm, I would want to see a contractable price of about $13.50 before I would consider making the switch to more beans than corn. Although the corn is a hard call right now because, like I just said, the price has increased so dramatically on inputs that we're kind of questioning maybe to make that switch to more soybeans instead. I don't know. Everything's up in the air. I think most farmers are debating the same thing. You want to do what's going to be most profitable. The corn yields have been good. This particular corn we're in is a new variety to us. We only planted 30 acres of it, and to be honest, I'm a little disappointed in it, especially in comparison to what was run on the ridge or right above this corn. Yesterday I posted on the main channel how to make a combine better, and getting some pretty interesting feedback on that, and I agree with 99% of everything that people are saying, and I think people's voices, that really is the way to build a better product, is to know what people want. And there, I need to get over a row right now. Just you can see those little rows just kind of hiding down there. Pretty wind whipped. It definitely probably took some yield off of this, but we're happy with the yield on this corn. The ridge up there was 211 bushel average. Now we did get into a different variety that I'm not very happy with, and there's a substantial hit on that variety, but like I said, it's only 30 acres. I think it was 30 acres total of that other new variety, but I guess that's why you gotta try new things. But at the same time, boy, you hate to have a bad bump number. I definitely won't buy that ever again. Dump another load here on that 4850. And I get a lot of positive comments on that 4850, and thank you guys for that. Around this area, there's still a lot of soybeans going on right now. I can count at least 3 neighbors in the background here combining soybeans. And there's one right over there running. That's an international combine. I believe that's the standard series. But a lot of beans being completed. We're actually done cutting beans, and pretty, like I said earlier, we're happy with the yields. And very happy with the cut of the head, and really for the price of that head, it doesn't shave the ground much better than this. As far as cost of the head versus a draper head, Calmer Videos did an ag economics on it. I agree with the video. I don't think it paid to buy a draper head. Now, with that being said, if I had a few more acres, or if I had just the opportunity to. A lot of things in life people buy because they want them, not because they absolutely have to have them. I think I would probably fall in that same category if I had the ability to go out and buy a new John Deere Draper. I already mentioned in the other videos, the new John Deere Draper does not work on these S600 series combine. The technology is not there. You have to have a 700 series or the X9 combines, and if it had one of those, yeah, I probably would run the new John Deere Draper. Just a little bit nicer head that you can run a few more hours a day with, but again, not a necessity by any means. Now addressing a few more questions. In yesterday's video I did talk a little bit about the X9 combine and the differences between the John Deere combines and the different models that John Deere offers. And I often hear the X9 is a $1 million combine. That's kind of a false statement. That combine lists at about $830,000, and you can pretty much expect to take 20% off a list price, which would be your cash price. It's a S770 cash price with pretty well equipped options is going to run you about $540,000. And that unload spout I just got done unloading with, I don't like the way the spout is on the end. It has a tendency to shoot outwards instead of downward. And you get dry corn, it likes to run off the other side of the wagon. It's really hard to judge your depth perception with. So I'm probably going to change that to a more traditional spout at some point. And my father should be coming up with the other wagon. We're going to move everything a little bit closer here. The field we're working on is just short of a couple hundred acres. And it's nice because right behind us is the farmstead where the bins are at, so we're actually hauling clear across the field to the bins. If you watched my video yesterday, I had mentioned basically stock stompers from John Deere. Those will lay the material out, and combined with the chopping rolls, the cornet can do its tillage. And the nice thing about that is once we get those and we get the semis, we'll be able to drive the semis right out in the field. I don't like taking semis out in the long stalks because of the low slung airlines, electric and everything, but with a good set of stock stompers and the material kind of a crushed flat, everything laid down nice, won't be a big deal. And if it's a muddy situation, we'll use the grain cart. We'll use the grain cart anyway. You get in the mud, even the wagons do not perform all that well. They're kind of like semis. So hopefully that answers a little bit about combine prices, about what we're doing on our own farm, and if you guys have been following along, you understand what else we've been doing on our farm and for what reasons. And I keep getting asked about the UAW strike at John Deere. Those stock stompers we ordered, I see that they did get pushed back again. Boy, we even took a damage there. But the stock stompers order, they got pushed back on order, keep getting back order date, keeps getting moved farther and farther. And with the UAW strike, that's going to get pushed back even more. And we'll see what the price is once we get them. I also mentioned yesterday's videos about one of our Kenworth trucks getting pushed back on the order board. Sounds like we will be able to get that next year. And it's kind of funny because all of a sudden the new fiscal year starts and the price tag goes up. But once the price tag goes up, we can mysteriously actually get the product at that point. And I do think there's going to be shortages next year as well. There's no sign of that stopping. But you will be able to get your product, but at a higher price tag. And with the UAW strike, the last strike that John Deere had was 1986, and the workers striked for I think 163 days. Ultimately, they got what they wanted, and I think they'll get what they want again. I think it'll be faster this time. It'll get resolved because of the shortages going on. They're trying to hype up production. One of the reasons there were shortages occurring with John Deere was because over the past 4 years or so, they've been laying off a lot of workers. That was just due to a slump in the ag economy, due to the trade war, which a lot of people just weren't buying any iron. Bankers said don't buy any iron. So John Deere laid off workers, and all of a sudden things picked up, and there's a large load to fulfill, and nobody there to do it. And now you got COVID shortages on top of it. kind of piled up. But I think the strike will get resolved. I think the workers will get what they want, and ultimately it'll be passed on to the consumer. What they're striking about is they are upset with, like, the CEO being 160% increase in pay, and you can imagine what the company's making. But the fact that Bill Gates is a large investor into it, and the John Deere financial department's basically owned by JP Morgan, that tells you a lot right there as to the direction of the company. Deere & Company is a publicly traded company, which means that they use other people's money to basically grow their company. In turn, you can have a piece of that growth. But it is a corporate structure. John Kinzenbaugh, who owns Kinsey, said it very, very well. He said if his product fails, people has his phone number. He's responsible for it. His research and development department is his own farm that he doesn't want to fail on. So he delivers a very good product, and he's ultimately testing it and using it himself. So he wants what's best for himself, as well as the customer basis. So in the corporate structure, it's really not that way. It's going to fall on committees and board members and other people that like to take large amounts of money or make large amounts of money. I really don't think that Bill Gates would invest into something that has no net return or a loss. So they have to protect those interests, which ultimately means sacrificing research and development, and sometimes the product ends up being cheaper. In yesterday's video, I talked about how to build a better combine. I think that's going to fall a lot of deaf ears on the sheer premise that the combine they're building now with their dealer network holds such a majority share for what's available as competition, that they don't want to build anything better. There's no incentive to build anything better. The only incentive to be better would be the incentive that people just quit buying the current product. So if they do start losing sales, then they will up their product. And nobody's ever going to build the best of anything because it doesn't leave any room for improvement down the road. So I just don't think that they would go out on a limb and build the newest, most cutting-edge thing in the world on that basis. It's a poor business model. But when they monopolize markets, where else do you have to go? I mean, in our area, we probably have 5 John Deere dealerships for every 3 international dealerships. And in our entire area, we have 3 New Holland dealerships. 2 are 50 miles away, 50 miles each direction, and 1 10 miles away. So we have very limited New Holland dealerships, and we have no Claas, Gleaner, or any other dealerships really at all. I mean, they're 50 to 100 miles away at the minimum. So as you can see, it's a pretty good sized area and that happens in a lot of places, with a pretty good sized area where there's not going to be any competition because there just can't be, because there's no parts network or support network behind it. Back down the hill here into the 1197 Pioneer, getting a little more realistic yields. Hangs in there pretty good. That 1870 was garbage, and this is standing a lot better too. Still right in there. It's really dry. I like that. No drying costs. So this will make 200 pretty easy. These old contour terraces throughout here, they have some dips and they hold the water. And on a normal year, they'll drown out. On a dry year like this year, as far as combines for our operation, what I have is okay for right now. I would prefer it to be a 700 series. Our operation does not have room for an X9. Although if you were to compare a 16-row head X9 versus 2 8-row heads on 770s, the price tag for the 1X9 for production rate is a more efficient machine. Not to mention you can do it with less operators. My biggest complaint with the John Deere Combine would be the rotor. I think the rotor is hard to set. It takes 12 seconds from the trailer entering to exit the rotor. Other brands take as little as 3. My other biggest complaint of the John Deere Combine is the cleanup. It's a real bearcat to clean up at the end of the season. There's just a lot of little crooks and crevices that like to hold stuff on the machine. Of course, they're all bad. Not sure what genius at John Deere came up with this thing, but this sun visor's a joke. It's called a sunscreen. Well, it doesn't really shade anything. It definitely doesn't block the sun. My biggest complaint with the John Deere Combine would be the rotor. I think the rotor is hard to set. It takes 12 seconds from the trailer entering to exit the rotor. Other brands take as little as 3. My other biggest complaint of the John Deere Combine is the cleanup. It's a real bearcat to clean up at the end of the season. There's just a lot of little crooks and crevices that like to hold stuff on the machine. Of course, they're all bad. Not sure what genius at John Deere came up with this thing, but this sun visor's a joke. It's called a sunscreen. Well, it doesn't really shade anything. It definitely doesn't block the sun. Ironically, on the 6M series tractor, that sun visor, or sunscreen as it's called, it's actually like a rolled material. It's a solid material. It's like a cloth material, and it blocks the sun entirely. So as to why they use one thing in one department and another in another department, I don't know. It seems like they need to get their departments to jive up a little bit. Well, anyway, I have a lot of good content for the main channel coming up, and I hope that channel can grow. I really want to put some time and effort into it and expand it to the next level. As for this channel, it may get a name change, it may not. I don't know what direction it'll go. As I said earlier, the fun to make videos unfortunately drag in an audience that's less than savory. So I'm going to reformulate things in a different direction. As to what to do with some of the controversial stuff, I don't know. I've even thought about having a like a weekly email to people that would want to subscribe to it if I have time to write one. You know, not sure. There's a lot that I would like to put out there as far as content. There's a lot I can prove as far as good educational material as to what kind of goes on around the world. Maybe different aspects of business or the businesses I've been involved with. And by the way, I'm going down here to catch the rest of the end of these rows. But anyway, not quite sure how to put that information out there quite yet, but we'll figure something out. So, thanks for watching. I was going to end this, but I wanted to add something to it. If anybody wants to know why the corn market's been as good as it has been, it's not because of inflation right now. It's because of demand, and it's been a short product. The last few years have been pretty bad. Last year, if you look at the state of Iowa county averages, was probably one of the lowest in the state. You can tell right where the county average was low is where the derecho blew everything down. As well as, this is the second year of a nationwide drought, and a couple of years before, you had 25 million acres of preventative plant. So you have preventive plant followed by drought, derecho, more drought, and in the meantime, South America's had drought, and Chinese have gotten their swine flu under control, so they're feeding more hogs, needing more product. People are back to driving, means more ethanol production. So all of a sudden there's a need for more corn when we're producing less of it because of these weather factors. And the Chinese phase one is not solely responsible for the markets, although I'm sure it did help. However, the Chinese only met about 55%, I believe, of their obligations. So far from where it should be. but the market does have some potential for an uptrend to continue. However, I would warn farmers if we do have the right year, I don't think the market will be sustainable at the current price. With the big grain companies and the amount of traders are in it, funds positions, I would think at some point it's going to drop, and that's not good with $1,000 a ton in hydrous. So things are going to have to find a balancing back point after the shutdowns and get back to reality. And as far as the Pro Farm Tour, they said that Southwest Iowa, which is where we're located, would be 200 bushel average, and that was their basis. I don't know what farm they stopped at, but that's kind of a miracle number considering that the county average has never hit that ever. So when you hear all this hype out there and these big record prices, a lot of it is designed on purpose to kill markets, because what's really important is statistic county averages, which is after it's all been weighed in the bin and sold.